I haven't seen Evil Dead 2 yet. What would you think? I'd think that you're a cinematic idiot and I'd feel sorry for you. All right. Why? Because it's a brilliant film. It's so funny and violent and the soundtrack kicks fucking ass. I never thought I'd say this, but can I go work now?
Welcome to an episode of What the Hell Did We Just Watch? I'm your host, as always, Louis Vargas. And I'm actually here by myself today. I don't have an audience. I don't have a guest, actually. That's what I'm trying to say. Because this is an abrupt, schedule that I have. I have more episodes down the line. I was supposed to edit something else, but I changed my mind because this is the weekend after I just finished watching Suicide Squad. I'm not going to review Suicide Squad. That's not what I'm going to do. What I'm trying to say is I have this topic, and it's been bothering me since after Man of Steel came out. So I want to just take my time and have an actual real talk rant about just how annoying it is on people and their attitude against what DC is doing. Now, let me just get things straight. This is not a Marvel versus DC thing. This is not a hey, get Rotten Tomatoes off the websites. That's not one of those things that I'm doing. I'm not for that. If a movie's good, it's good. If a movie's bad, it's bad. I'm not criticizing Suicide Squad. I'm not here to tell you how amazing it was. I'm not here to tell you how shitty it was. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to tell you that I feel that there is this kind of like torment or kind of like rift or something that's going on here with how critics see things that DC's doing and comparing them and contrasting them to how Marvel is doing it. And how critics are okay with the things that they're doing, despite even saying how upset or how some part of one of their movies was less par to what their expectations were. Now, I'm also going to speak on whether, on something like on the attitudes of how they're going in to see some of these movies, to see these DC films. There's only been 3 so far, but how they're going in, what kind of expectations they're going in, what are they looking for when they see what DC has been doing with their films. And I have an idea, I have a theory. It's obviously not something that's set in stone. I'm not saying that what my theories are correct. I could be totally wrong from this side, but they're just things that have just been bothering me since after Man of Steel came out, and it's just been bothering me so much that I need to get it off my chest. And that's one of the most amazing parts about having a podcast and maybe having listeners who agree with me. Maybe they're saying the exact same thing for the same exact reasons that I'm saying, or maybe they're not. And they want to tell me that I'm wrong and I'm full of shit and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But either way, that's what, at least we're having the same conversation. We're not having this, it was a bad movie, it was a good movie thing. The name of this episode is called Critics v. The Distinguished Competition. It's just about how the critics, or how I feel that the critics are going about DC and how their rating system works when it comes to watching a DC movie. I feel like they're not watching it the right way. That's basically what I'm trying to say. I feel that when they go in, they're not watching the movie in the right state of mind, or or maybe they're just the wrong people to go see it. Because the reason why I'm saying this is that since Man of Steel and until now, the critics have been very different from what the people have been saying about what the movie is, in terms of how good it is, or some of them obviously agree with the critics, but I think that they're giving it such a more harsh criticism than most films, even because let me just put it like this. Even the worst movie in the Marvel franchise, which is kind of unanimously Iron Man 2, still has good reviews. It's not a Rotten Tomato. It's not a very poor score on IMDb, or, it's still wildly liked, even though it's the most hated one. And then here comes the other one, Iron Man 3, who everybody did love, but everybody agrees that the Mandarin was bullshit. The whole part about how the Mandarin was and how he was a fake Mandarin, there are people that are up in arms about that, but yet they thought it was one of the greatest Iron Mans ever made. So how is that possible? If you hate something so bad that's in it, how are you giving it a great review, or how are you giving it, a positive thing to say about it? Like, more so, if you ask me and I'm watching a movie, and I will agree that I was one of those people that wasn't very happy with what they did with the whole fake Mandarin thing. It did leave a bitter taste in my mouth, but not so bad that I was like, oh my God, this movie's so bad. But like, there were people out there that I did hear that were like, what the hell is this? This is bullshit. The fake Mandarin thing sucks. Like, I hate it. And yet they still say the movie was awesome. I know it sounds kind of contradicting what I just said right now, but it's I don't have those strong feelings that some people had it. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was for the most part, I thought it was a bold move. The thing is that when it comes to film, with films in general, I like bold moves. I acknowledge them in films, and I actually praise you for it instead of like shitting on you for it. Even if it left a sour taste in my mouth, I think it was like a bold ass move, even if it wasn't a good move, because the thing is, the payoff for Mandarin is bullshit, because they gave you the fake Mandarin who we thought was the best Mandarin, and then when they tell you who the real Mandarin is, you're like, you suck. You weren't even good. You're nowhere near as good as the one that was claiming to be the fake one. And so, but then again, I also did not give the high rating that IMDb or Flickster gave it. That thing is not Flickster, Rotten Tomatoes. That's sitting at 93%, I think, certified fresh. And I think that's way too high for it. I give the movie actual solid B, but I don't rate movies. But I'm giving you what I tell you. If you follow my personal page and you want ratings and all that stuff, I'm more than happy to give them. Every movie I watch, I do give it a rating system, but I don't do it on this podcast because it's a movie watching podcast, and that's all it is. I just want to watch movies. I want to show people movies that they want, that they've never seen, that I want to show them to see that if they can enjoy it. You know what I mean? Old and new. But the reason why I stopped a little bit of production on showing someone a movie, which by the way will be back next week, I just don't understand why critics have something so negatively to say about the direction that DC's taking for making their films, as opposed to like what Marvel's doing. What I mean by that is that they're trying their hardest to make sure they're in a position. This is what it is. I feel that DC is in a position where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And I think that's utter bullshit. I think that critics do see that. You know what I mean? And I feel that critics still think their intentions, that I think that DC's intentions that I feel that they're trying to do is give you a actual comedy. Not comedy, comic experience. Now, what I'm trying to say is that I know, Marvel, they're doing their thing and they have comic book characters and everything. But one of the things, though I'm enjoying what Marvel's doing, one of the things that I see that's completely different from what DC's intentions are when they're making their films, I feel that they're way more comic book infused than anything that Marvel's ever done from the beginning. Okay? And I don't mean by characters, I don't mean suits. I'm talking about the story that we're getting. It's way more comical, comic infused. Like, the characters that are in it literally praise the environment that they embody, because One thing I did love in Man of Steel was it was semi grounded, but that fight that they have between Zod and Superman, you were not gonna get that in any grounded regular Superman film. You know, like Christopher Reeve would have never had that fight, and he did have that fight. He did fight Zod in a scene with Nan and the girl that was with the team, and it was nowhere near as amazing as it was in Man of Steel. And some people really shitted on it because they felt that it was too intense. People died, and them complaining about such small things that's actually in a movie. Now we're caring about lives of movie characters. It's kind of ridiculous. You know, that's the way that I feel that Superman and Zod would fight. You're getting two unstoppable forces, and they're fighting without giving a shit, you know, on what's in the way. Or maybe Superman is giving a shit, but it's out of his hands to see how, you know, the Zod is fighting a specific way, and so Superman gonna have to, you know, fight. And if it means like tearing down a building because he got pushed into that building, then so be it. But you know, one thing at a time, you know. And that's the part that I don't understand, that people really get really emotional about. Oh, the buildings, all this and that. And what pisses me off, I would tell people after the movie, after watching the movie, I would tell people the bullshit that I can't stand that people are saying. If it was in a comic book or if it was a cartoon, they would never have anything to say about that. And they would say that it was the greatest story that they ever read, that they ever watched or read on a comic book or in a cartoon. And I think that it's wrong. That's horrible. All this confusion, it's what's, I believe, driving DC, which I feel they need to calm the fuck down. They have their faults too, trust me when I tell you. But they're not letting the filmmakers do their job because they're worried about what we're saying, even the dumb reasons why we don't like the movies for. I think it's stupid. It's like, if so something like in Man of Steel, they were mad that everybody was getting killed. So Batman vs Superman, what do? They tell us like 5 times that everywhere they're fighting is uninhabited. It's nighttime, so nobody is in danger of dying, you know, or getting killed or anything. So it's like, really, man? Like, you got to actually go down there and tell them, like, you need to make a scene where these people are saying that no one's getting hurt. You know, I think that's just bullshit. You know that it feels forced. So now the same people that were bitching about everybody getting killed are not going to be pointing at like, oh, well, now they're saying 100 times that there's nobody here and everybody's dead. I mean, and everybody's gone because it's nighttime. It's we're in an uninhabited island off the coast of Metropolis in Gotham. And I'm like, you see what I'm saying? You're shooting yourselves in the foot, DC. Stop it. Just continue doing the films you want to do and the way that you want to do it. But DC, you need to take a step back, which is also why I think that Geoff Johns is now finally overseeing it. Well, hopefully Geoff Johns does not get a Warner Brothers finger tapped on his shoulder every 5 minutes that he's working. Suicide Squad was the last movie that was created without Geoff Johns's seal of approval because he just got the job now. Even though his name is on Suicide Squad, I don't think it was as important as it will be now. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that DC's intentions, I feel that they're more on a comic book flow. They're doing a lot of these kind of like things that are trying to be like on a comic book flow, trying to bring the comic book into the movie as opposed to like making a movie based on comic books. You understand what I'm saying? I know you guys out there are trying to, I know you know what I'm trying to say. I know it sounds a little confusing, but I know that the people out there that are listening and they know what I'm talking about, they know what I'm trying to say. And help your fellow man. Help the person that is listening with you that doesn't get it, what I'm trying to say. Marvel has not done this. Marvel has not done, oh my God, like it's so like a comic book, like what I'm seeing, because their stuff is more realistic. And yes, you know, we're getting Iron Man and he looks exactly like the way he does in the comic books, and all these characters, they have like their own kind of way they look like in the comic books. But I think that that's as far as they take it. Everything else I feel is very, you know, organically kind of like originally made, and it's good. It's working for Marvel and it's working for me too. But I also acknowledge that DC is doing something that's very different to try to stay into this kind of like foray where it's like, hey, we can do a universe too, and it could be like this. You know what I mean? Like, it could literally be like a comic book, and that's what I think that people and critics, I should say, more importantly, that I think that that's what they have a problem with. I think that that's what they have a problem in showing. The critics, I don't think, gasp it. That's what I feel like that DC's intentions are, and we're not getting that. And it leads me to, like, saying that, like, I feel like DC is getting spat on, with what Marvel has done and is doing. They're doing the exact same thing. So come on, critics, what are you trying to say? So Marvel, you think that Marvel has this kind of like template to doing something that you feel that they can only do properly or something? Is that what it is? Do you think that they created kind of like this kind of like way of doing comic book movies and they're the only ones who can do it right? Is that what it is? Or is it the fact that Marvel uses a lot more comedic relief to ease the tensions from their movies? Is that what it is? Because DC is not doing that. They put their little jokes in it, and even Suicide Squad had their little jokes in it. But it was still, if I had to say, it was more like 70-30 in favor of a serious movie. It was like 70% serious, 30% funny. But it was still funny. To the best of their abilities. But I mean, is that what it is? Is that what you're looking for? Is it something, that you feel that because it's a comic book made film, do you feel that it's supposed to be funny? Is it supposed to be family friendly? Because the thing is, Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and Suicide Squad, to a certain extent, is not family friendly. It really isn't, and I get that. I totally get that, but I feel that, again, back to DC's intentions, and I'm not saying that they're right about this or wrong about this. I'm just saying that I think I feel and know what their intentions are, So DC, anybody from DC out there, please tell me if I'm right. But trying to a slightly older audience, I feel like that's where they're really going. And though, like I said, it may not be the right choice, it's still a choice. It's still a vivid choice. I think that they should stay the course because they have an edge that I feel like it's totally different from Marvel, and which I think Marvel are, if you ask me, their age range is, and it's a little bit wider, obviously, but I think it's more from the ages of like, I think they're trying to capture more from the age of 5 to 17, 100%, and then like a little bit from like the 17 to like 28 age range. I think that's where they're trying to like kind of like give you. Now that's a much broader range, don't get me wrong, but that kind of age range appeal has a consequence. Like, for instance, if it wasn't for what DC's doing, we wouldn't have deaths of characters in the movies. Marvel, they still actually have to kill someone in the universe, because even the people that they quote unquote killed, they come right back. Now, that is true when it comes to Batman vs Superman, but at least we got a very strong scene of him dying, of Superman dying in the film. Spoilers, I'm sorry, but you should have probably seen it by now if you're listening to this podcast. But Superman gets killed by Doomsday, and they go as far as having a funeral because Clark Kent is dead, and they have a funeral in Washington, D.C. because Superman is dead. And he's dead long enough to even carry over into Suicide Squad. Again, spoilers, they use the scene from Batman vs Superman, and we're led to know that in Suicide Squad, it's after the death of Superman. So it's after, like, it's life after the death of Superman. And we're seeing that Amanda Waller has to come up. It feels like she needs to come up with a way to kind of balance that, bring that balance back to the fact that there is no Superman, and he would save us if we had this problem. But now that he's dead, she feels that it's the greatest idea to use literally a group of expendables, for lack of a better word, to fight these impossible missions. And what the one thing that they didn't really get, that people that really hated Suicide Squad, what they didn't get, it was that the mission that they were on wasn't even a mission that they were going to be used for. It was more like they were still in the testing run, that they were still doing what they were doing, and they basically, the mission that they were doing was even very simple. Their job wasn't even to save the world. Their job, which they didn't know that it was, but their job was actually to get Amanda Waller out of Midway City, because she was in Midway City. Basically what I'm saying is that it's an unofficial first mission, and then it ended up turning into getting the Enchantress and, getting her subdued, and it became kind of saving the world. But also, again, they didn't save the world being good guys. They still saved the world being bad guys. It was because if favors were met, they didn't say, yo, let's go save the world, let's be good guys. No, it was a truth was let out, which was Rick Flag showing Deadshot that he had letters of Deadshot's daughter. And based on that, he never had a letter from her in ages. And based on that, he said, I'm gonna do you a solid for giving me these letters, basically. Now, that's something that is just a favor for favor. It wasn't like, yo, let's go save the world, or let's go, risk our lives and shit like that, And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, even Marvel doesn't have that kind of like certain edge into their films. I think that they don't go where I mentally want comic book films to go. I've been wanting them to go there for a long time, and apparently DC is actually doing it for me. At this point of time, DC is giving me those beats, those moments, those things that I were expecting or I am expecting in comic book films, and they're hitting every note. And that's exactly why I'm having this podcast, because I'm trying to tell you that I'm enjoying the DC cinematic universe, the DC expanded universe, actually is what it's called. I'm enjoying the DC expanded universe a lot more than the Marvel cinematic universe. I mean, I'm talking about from beginning to end. And I'm not saying that I don't love it, and I'm not saying that I don't own all the movies, because I do love it. But there is, everybody has standards. Just because you don't get what you want, it doesn't mean that the movie is horrible. A lot of people are really shitting on the DC films, because mostly they're saying because it's not the movie that they thought it was going to be in their head. Now, that doesn't necessarily make it a bad movie for people, and it shouldn't make it necessarily a bad movie for you either, because if it's stopping you because you hate that Joker has, gold teeth, or you hated that people died because in Man of Steel they were tearing down buildings. Like, those things are so stupid. Like, literally give it like a good reason. There are people out there that give it their good reasons out there too. Don't get me wrong. Like, there are reasons why I know that there are legitimate reasons why people don't like Man of Steel, and there are legitimate reasons why they don't like Batman vs Superman, and also now Suicide Squad. But I feel like the majority are a bunch of nitpickers, and I think that it's bullshit, because Batman vs Superman and Civil War are basically the same movie. So explain this to me: how the hell can Civil War get the rating that it got and the popularity that it got, and Batman vs Superman gets shat on? And it was because, I'm not speaking for the ones, like, I know that most people are like, what the hell, they call it a Batman vs Superman movie, and yet they're not fighting. And I'm like, that's such a stupid thing, because though we weren't expecting for it to be such a heavily written and story-driven film, I'm not going to say that it was bad, because it was good. The story-driven stuff is good. You know what I mean? But not everybody can withstand watching a 3-hour movie, let alone comic book fans. They don't watch 3-hour movies for shit. I know that already. They're not into that kind of stuff. Why are we praising what Marvel does? It's kind of like they can do no wrong or something, and that really annoys me, like, a lot, And I don't understand it. It's kind of like, Marvel, you can do no wrong, which is bullshit, because they can, because I can tell you the parts that were horrendous, that really knock it down of its tree, of its perfection tree. But they're also not doing what DC is doing. And people, I can understand, like a lot of people, when it comes to DC, I feel that they know who the characters are, but I don't feel that they know who the characters are based on their comic book renditions. I think they only know who they are based on their cartoon renditions. And if you watch a cartoon version of something, will be totally different than the comic book version of something. You understand what I'm saying? I posted a picture on my personal page of the Joker, right? Now, I said on my thing was that, people were like even complaining, what's up with all the tattoos? I don't know a Joker like that. What's going on? And that's what I mean. A Joker in a cartoon will not look like a Joker like this guy. No, he's not. But what I'm trying to say is that there is a comic book series that has the Joker who has a full dragon tattoo on his back. That's in a comic book. That's what I'm trying to say is that just because you don't know it, it should give you like this kind of like itch to like go read it or like go look for it, instead of be like, oh no, the cartoon's the only thing I ever know. You want to watch these movies, expand your knowledge of how where these characters being taken from. Now, I'm not going to knock the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy at all, not one bit. But this is what pisses me off. Everybody says that Heath Ledger is the best Joker, but let me let you in on a fucking reality check. As great as his performance was, his Joker was not taken from any comic version of Joker at all. Now, they might have made comic book versions of this Joker, of the Dark Knight Joker, into comics after the fact. I don't think so because I haven't seen any. But he is the farthest thing away from any Joker that's been in any comic book that I've ever read. I don't know any kind of Joker that's even remotely close to that kind of Joker that I've ever read. And again, I think that that's bullshit. So it's like you're trying to say that the best comic book movies are the ones that are not even based off comic books, because that's also the reason why why Batman from 1989 was so popular. With two reasons. One, we didn't have a Batman movie to say that was awesome. But the second part is another Batman that's not even taken from any comic book series whatsoever, along with Christian Bale. He's not based on anything I've ever seen or read in any comic books. You know what I'm saying? Just certain things, certain little like tidbits and like, going to train up in like the mountains. And I get that one. That's like Batman Year One stuff and the Long Halloween stuff, but they're not taken from those magazines. From those comics, and even the Dark Knight Rises, where some of it was taken from No Man's Land and some of it was taken from there. But for the most part, those characters are nowhere near the kind of characters that are depicted from the comic book series. Bane does not look like that in any comic book series, that I've ever read or seen. Catwoman neither. Talia al Ghul. Everybody, Ra's al Ghul, everybody that was in that whole trilogy, I can't tell you where they're from. The way that they're depicted. I've never seen it. Never. So, that goes to show you like, oh, people love the Dark Knight trilogy. I did like it too, but I know what it was not. It was not a proper DC comic book rendition of Batman. It was not. It was a damn good movie, but it wasn't what it was. People get really confused and they're like, oh my God, that's Batman. No, not really. That's not Batman at all. Back to like ranting, and like I'm just like very mildly upset because like it's mostly what people and critics feel like that way too. It doesn't help, that the critics that are talking about these movies, they don't know anything, though they are looking for hopefully making a good film. And that's the reason why I think that Marvel is doing such a great job in their ratings for their movies. And I also think that that's also the reason why Christopher Nolan got such a great praise for his movies by the critics, because they're the farthest things away from comic books that you can ever imagine. And they're more regular movie than they are actually comic book movies, because they're not comic book movies. They're movies based on comic books. There's a difference, and the same thing goes with Civil War. Though we got this awesome movie called Civil War, and I'm actually a big fan of the Captain America franchise, because I think that next to the Dark Knight trilogy, they made the best trilogy that a movie can make. But that made me happy with all three movies. But Civil War is the farthest thing away from the Civil War storyline. Farthest thing away. And that's what I'm trying to say is like, are we letting ourselves believe that the best movies are the ones that are not based on the comic book stories? Days of Future Past, X-Men, Days of Future Past, the farthest thing away from what the story was about. It's not even close to it. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm trying to say. We praise them so much, and they're butchering it more than, let's say, Suicide Squad butchered it, Batman vs Superman butchered it, and this isn't in the critics' eyes. They think that they fucked it up, and I think that they're on the nose. If you ask me, they're totally the other thing, And I'm not like, writing the DC dick. I'm not doing that. I'm just trying to tell you that what they're doing, I'm able to see it. I see what they're trying to do. It's not a coincidence that people say critics say that they hate it, and people too. They both say that they hated Man of Steel, yet they love Superman. And then when Batman vs Superman came out, everybody said Batman vs Superman was horrible, but Ben Affleck as Batman was awesome. The same thing I'm hearing for Suicide Squad. They're like, the movie sucked, but Harley Quinn was awesome. Deadshot was awesome. El Diablo was awesome. Everybody's playing their roles, and then everybody says at the same time, I want to see them in other movies to see what they do. So you're trying to tell me that these bad movies that have good actors that they're doing, like what movie in your entire life have you ever seen that you've heard people complain about a bad movie and say, if they make a sequel, I want to see it because that person that was in it was awesome. I've never in my entire life of movie watching history, have ever seen or heard anyone tell me that and actually get away with it. When they say them, I shut them down. It's like, look, dude, either you like the movie or you fucking didn't, because you can't just say I hated this movie and all the actors were great. So all of them were acted properly and given a bad movie. The same shit every time. Oh, Batman vs Superman was so bad, but I can't wait to see Ben Affleck be Batman in the next movie. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, just if you really hate something, like put it to the ground. It makes me sick. The way that they see those things. And another thing, what is wrong with people? You know what? I'm just going to stop right there. I'm going to stop right there and just go off to the next one, because I just keep just staying in this fucking bullshit of like critics and the way people shit on things, and they're not giving it a proper, like, a real proper, like, not criticism, but like a proper say in it. You know what I mean? And the people that have the most thing to say are the ones that know least of what the fuck they know about the fucking movie. Yeah, granted, they go see a movie and they may not enjoy it, but when it comes to watching a comic book infused comic book film, it's that people don't admit, yes, you saw Harley Quinn in a cartoon. Yes, you've seen pictures of Harley Quinn and you know who she is. But the problem is, you don't know who she is. You don't know who Deadshot is. The people that went to go see this movie, if I had to put a percentage, I say 75 of the people that went to go see this movie don't know shit about the Suicide Squad. Don't know shit that there was even a Suicide Squad team in the comics, because the cartoons never did Suicide Squad stuff. There's one Suicide Squad cartoon, but it ain't even called Suicide Squad. It's called Assault on Arkham. It's Batman Assault on Arkham. The Suicide Squad are in there. And then Suicide Squad are renditioned in Arrow, and also the show Smallville, that old show called Smallville. Now, what I'm trying to say is that should we let these kind of people that don't know that this stuff existed be the people that should criticize on how good or bad the movie was? Because I think that a small part of it, or maybe even a big part of it for some people, is because they don't know who these characters are. They can't relate to them. I know, like, more so, who knows more? Who knows what character is more known? Harley Quinn or Captain America? Who's a character that's more known? Deadshot or Iron Man? Come on. Yes, Iron Man was actually, because not anymore, because the movies changed that. But he was a B-grade comic book hero. Any comic book fan knows this. Iron Man was not on the top of any motherfucking body's tier of comic book stuff. Okay, everybody had an A grade, whether it was from Marvel or DC, it don't matter. Everybody had these are my favorites, and Iron Man was the one at the bottom of the list. If he was on your list, he was on the bottom. He was not on the fucking top, and now he's on people's top of the list because of the movies, and they love Robert Downey Jr. Not because of how awesome he is how awesome of an Iron Man he is. It's more how awesome of a Tony Stark he is. But and people love him so much, yet Civil War didn't even put him as the kind of character that he was in the Civil War. If I told you right now Iron Man is actually the villain or one of the villains in Civil War, if I told you that Iron Man was the villain in Civil War, how would you feel about that? Would you have actually liked to see Robert Downey Jr. play a villain in the Civil War story? I bet you $1 million no, and that's why things have to get changed, and that is what I feel that's bullshit. And people got upset. I know that people got upset in Suicide Squad when they were not let go. They're villains. If it was a Marvel movie and they have a team that's just as like, I guaranteed you at the end of this movie they would have gotten let go free. But the Suicide Squad are villains, and one of the things I did love about this movie is that they were villains from the beginning to the end. They did not turn. They did not find this kind of like, blinding light of like, I see the light and now I'm going to become a good guy. They didn't have that, because why? They're villains. They're bad guys. They're bad guys to the end. Regardless of all these like really nice things that they have about themselves, they are villains, and they will always be villains. You put them out in the streets, they're going to go back to stealing and killing and doing whatever it is that they do that they get caught for by Batman, because most of the bad guys that are in this movie are Batman villains. But that's all I have to say about that part of the issue. But I'm gonna go to my other issue, and that's like what critics' reviews are on social media sites and on regular sites, and the things that they have to say. And some of it is kind of ridiculous, and I totally get why it would be ridiculous, because these critics, they don't know what they're seeing. They don't know what they're seeing at all. The critics, what they have to say is at times, okay, whatever. I give them their little kind of like reasons. I totally get what some people have something to say, but here it is. Like, this is what's funny for Suicide Squad, right? David Ayer's flash and dash directing style makes it a challenge to follow the story. Okay. And that was someone from the U.S. Weekly. Someone from the Daily News, the New York Daily News, said that the characters are weak. And then Seattle Times, they said that it's overloaded with comic book movies. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. In a year overloaded with comic book movies, Suicide Squad just seems like it's more of the same. I totally disagree with that. The same as what? Tell me, because compare it to what? You know what I'm saying? The thing that I can compare it to, but not in a comparison that you guys may think. I mean, like, obviously it's like a Deadpoolish with the kind of comedy that it had, but it was also more Guardians of the Galaxy, if you had to relate it to anything. But it's nowhere near what those two movies are. Nowhere near close. You know what I mean? And then another one says, on paper it sounds amazing, but then when they made it into a movie, it's just another version of the same shit. And I don't agree with that. That's not true. And then IGN, oh my God, I wanted to slap him in the face. He said that that Suicide Squad story was so like this underdeveloped that it made you appreciate the overstuffed plot of Batman vs Superman. So you're telling me that you're praising a movie that you hated before because you saw this movie. Get the fuck out of here. I hate it when people say shit like that. It annoys the fuck out of me. I don't understand why people do that. That's stupid. You know what I mean? So, and that was, for that, like, that's just for Suicide Squad. I'm just saying, it's like, you see the bad reviews, you see that consensus, but then really look in, if you saw the movie, awesome, and then you can read what they're saying. But if you even before the movie, you could skim through some stuff, and get, what they're trying to say. And then you realize that, like, this is such a wrong criticism or a wrong approach or a wrong way to go about talking about this movie, because I think it's just plain bullshit. Like the way that they low blow it. So it's like, what is it? Is it a weaker plot, or is it a too much plot? The characters aren't well liked, or we like the characters? Like, well, which one is it? And these are all bad reviews. They're all saying things that are opposite. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous, how they get to where they're going. And it's like, wait a minute. So you said something really positive, but yet you still gave it a shitty rating. Like, I don't get it. Like, and there's some people that did that shit. It's like, I don't get what you're doing. And yet we can sit around and say Avengers Age of Ultron was amazing, yet everybody and their mother always complained about Ultron himself. They thought he was weak. They thought he was underdeveloped. They thought that he wasn't the person that they should have went up against. But yet, there it is. Lo and behold, it's a freaking almost 80-something% approval rating. Like, how the fuck? Like, you know, I don't get that. How can they do bad and still do good at the same time? And yet DC, they're actually doing the opposite. People are praising their performances and then still give it a horrible rating because they think that it's either too much story, too little story, too comic booky, too much of the same. It's like, what the fuck? You're like, I don't get it. But yet we're sold on their performances. So they're doing something right and yet doing something wrong at the same time. You know, but in Marvel side, they doing something good, and then they literally, you know, say that they're doing something bad, but to the point where they're kind of shitting the bed, and yet they still get a good rating. Iron Man 2 is still a good rated movie, and we know that that's the worst fucking Marvel movie ever made. I cannot stand Iron Man 2. You know, I'm gonna wrap up because I'm by myself, so the podcast won't be as long as usual, though it looks like it's creeping up on that. But that's how much I have a problem. I don't have a problem with, like, if you hate Suicide Squad, I don't give a shit. Just hate it, even for the dumb reasons that you might have. And that goes for any movie in general. I don't care. You know, I'm pretty sure that some of the movies that I talked about already on this podcast, you can't stand them. Or maybe you fucking love them and the bad things I say about them, you're like, no, what the hell's wrong with you? Why are you saying those bad things? You know, but please just share me your theories on why you think DC is failing in your eyes or in the eyes of the critics, of the people. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Just like tell me, let me know. You know what I'm saying? And also, if you're in the New York and New Jersey area and you want to be a part of this podcast and you want to criticize about comic book films or any films in general, just hit me up on email on the facebook.com page. You know, just hit me up on there and I will try my best to answer everyone's emails and see, you know, who's feasible to be on the show, who's not feasible to be on the show. Like, because I want, like, if you think that I'm literally, like, talking out of my ass with how I feel critics are doing with DC, then let me know. If you think they're right, let me know. If critics, even as well, critics, if you want to come on the show and you want to talk about how bad or agree with me on the show about how good DC is doing it, or how bad they're doing it, or how good Marvel is doing it, or how bad Marvel is doing it, or even in any movie for that matter, I'm always willing for the challenge. I'm always willing to take the challenge. So, you know, on that note, you know, just let me know. I mean, do you guys love what you're hearing? Do you guys hate what you're hearing? Hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com at / what the hell did we just watch? On Twitter, you can hit me up on there too. Shoot me anything. Twitter.com / BLAM. You can do it on, you can just like my pages on Instagram, or you could just leave everything I talk about on the very bottom. You know, just let me know what you think, man. Instagram.com / Whatthehellpcast. You know, you can shoot me an email through any of those things. Just send me a direct message as well on Instagram. Do whatever you need to do to get your point across to me. I will contact you right back, and if I feel like it's a justifiable comment, I will return your email. I will return your comments. On YouTube, you can do that as well. I have a YouTube comment. Though there's no video, you can listen to the podcast on YouTube. Just go right there to that search engine and just shoot it right there. What the hell did we just watch? You come right up there. You'll find the channel right there. Subscribe. And I promise that anything that I feel that is good to comment on, I will comment right back. I will say I will not stay quiet. I won't let you out, you know, out there to, you know, hang to dry, so to speak. So without further ado, I think that's it. You have all my stuff, all my information. That is my real talk rant from the critics versus the distinguished competition. Okay? Now, this is Lewis, and I have no one here. Like I said, it's just me. But this is Lewis signing off. What the hell did we just watch? Peace out, yo.